Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our top right hand side Deskana, our red Protoss. He is a Masters level Protoss, and red's a really nice color. StarNaN is our green Protoss. He is a Grandmasters Protoss from Sweden. He is part of Team Western Wolves, and by Grandmasters I mean he's a pro player. He's actually been to some tournaments. Congratulations to him of breaking in there. Hasn't made a huge name for himself, but he is Grandmasters. He's a pro player. He's absolutely fantastic. This is going to be a fantastic game. Deskana, I've cast a couple of his games. I can assure you that he is more than competent. He's actually very good, and I believe that this slugging match between Protoss versus Protoss is going to be well worth watching. Well worth watching. What's not always worth watching is the opening moves from both players, because they're both Protoss. We know what's going to be happening. So should point out that this map does have 4 different spawning locations, so expect to see the scouting going off in all different corners just to see if there's possible shenanigans about the non-cross spawn. They are cross spawn though, so no super early rush, no super problems in expanding. The only problem with expanding is that it's Protoss versus Protoss, and it's very difficult to do that in PvP. First gateway coming up for both players, first gas being grabbed for Deskana and for StarNaN, so that's absolutely fantastic. Actually wanted to build another assimilator there. Okay, there it goes. So 2 gas being grabbed for StarNaN, and we don't see that second gas for Deskana. Could be that he's going for just a couple more sentries. Could be that he's going for a lot more tech, and that's going to be an interesting choice for him, because traditionally it's much harder to defend an expansion than it is to attack that expansion when you're Protoss. And so you kind of run into this, I think he's going to get an expansion, no, I think he's going to get an expansion, and then they just have a massive slugging match, and there's a lot of testosterone, and it's absolutely fantastic. But the first gateway is now finished, and there goes the Cybernetics core for Star, and it looks like Deskana is following right in his footsteps, with the exception of that second gas. And that's going to translate to a little bit more minerals. He's throwing down another assimilator. Awesome. So they're going to be completely neck and neck. I think Deskana might have garnered enough minerals just for 1 extra something. I mean, you can check out the mineral tab, 600 to 480. Those numbers are going to polarize and be pretty much neck and neck just in a couple of seconds once that assimilator actually does finish. And so there's not a massive difference here. It's not like it's ZVZ where a single drone can make the difference between one player and another. In reality, the single blank is a chrono boost. StarNaN checking out his top left. It looks like Deskana scouted his bottom right with his probe until eventually finding Deskana's home base. His scout was absolutely perfect, with the exception of scouting out that gas. However, he did see that the probes were going back and forth, so he's going to know that that double gas was taken. And that double gas can cue him into the possibilities and probability of a heavy tech play. 2 gates coming out right now from Deskana. It's probably going to be a 2-gate into Robo just because of the amount of gas he's accumulated right now. You can't discount a Stargate though. He does have that probe that is currently far afield. Maybe he'll be doing some sort of proxy shenanigans. The Lord knows. There goes the robotics facility, so now we know, so that's pretty cool. Also a robotics facility from StarNaN. Bear in mind that StarNaN, even though he lost a little bit of minerals by sacrificing some workers into gas a little bit early on, hasn't thrown down a second gateway into now, so that's how he's kept competitive with this. He was behind on the mineral income, but that's because he wasn't spending his money on as many unit producing structures as Deskana. So now that he's actually thrown down that extra money on the gateway, we can see that everything's pretty much equalized. Third gateway being added right next to the robotics facility. We can see 3 stalkers are out right now. An observer being produced out and chrono boosted out of the robotics facility from StarNaN. He wants to know exactly what Deskana is getting up to with his robotics facility. Oh wow, look at this. The robotics facility was constructed immediately on top of that robotics facility goes a robotics bay. So that's very interesting, and especially interesting to see that the robotics facility is not building anything. You definitely need to produce an observer. I don't care what. You absolutely have to have a detector in your base or at the front door of your opponent. It takes 30 seconds to do. You can get 2 of them out by the time a robotics bay actually gets constructed. He has so much gas saved up. Definitely need that observer, especially because StarNaN's moving out with his own. He's going to see everything here. He's going to see that the robotics bay is up, and he's going to see either Colossus or warp prisms coming out of the robotics facility. Really, I mean, it's going to be Colossus because it's PvP, but traditionally, sometimes you can see some warp prisms coming out, and that's actually a really, really cool play, especially when you load it up with a handful of sentries to throw down some force fields, or some immortals, like we see that StarNaN is actually producing back at home. He's got one immortal, another one on the production tab, but Extended Thermal Lances has already been started, and Chrono Boost has been expunged on that robotics bay, and the robotics facility is producing a Colossus. So this observer is going to see it working on something. It could be warp prism speed, but you have to assume the worst. Assume that it's going to be a oh wow, warp prism being produced for StarNaN back at home. So that's going to be actually a really, really cool play, because he's got the two immortals out right. He cancels it. Of course he cancels it. He's got the two immortals out. You could throw those in a warp prism. You could get up there, start doing damage to the mineral line. And absolutely crush that mineral line away from the Colossus, because that Colossus really can't shoot up. We don't see a lot of anti-air. Only 4 stalkers. Those aren't blink stalkers. That would have done quite a lot of damage. As things are now, I think StarNaN is preparing to defend his own Nexus. He has taken that expansion. He has drawn an early lead in probes as well as probe production. Is drawing in a lot of extra minerals, but he's going to be behind very, very much on tech. So he's producing his own Colossus, just now starting on Extended Thermal Lance at pretty much the exact same second that Extended Thermal Lance is finishing for Deskana. Deskana waits for that second Colossus to pop out and immediately moves out with a very intimidating force. He's got quite a lot of proxy pylons being produced right now, so he's going to be able to constantly reinforce his facility with all of these gateways back at home, even producing extra pylons back at home. Absolutely fantastic play for Deskana. This is going to hit like a ton of bricks just because of that Extended Thermal Lance upgrade, how that's done, how he's going to be able to hit. That is green. It's a pylon back at home for StarNaN. He's going to be able to warp in units. The probes need to be pulled right now to take care of that. I will attempt to keep an eye on that, but at the same time, this push is coming. The Zealots are moving up. 2 Zealots and 1 Stalker are caught on the other side of the force field, so they're taking some damage. It looks like this Stalker might maybe survive. No, pushing forward just a second too long. The Colossus raining down fire. Another 40 seconds to go with the Extended Thermal Lance upgrade. Deskana needs to get more ballsy with his Colossus, needs to get in there. The force fields go down behind the Stalkers, doing a bit of resistance from the Colossus, and 2 Zealots being warped in by StarNaN, absolutely going to town. Instead of watching that damage go down, I'll just show you the Harvester tab instead. Deskana pushing forward with his Colossus. The Stalkers going to town on the pylon, focusing down the probes. So now this probe count beginning to equalize. No, not really. 23-4. Those Zealots are absolutely ravaging. Nice snipe from StarNaN, taking down that 1 Colossus. Deskana all of a sudden without the upgrade. I think the upgrade is now done for StarNaN, so they're on even keel, and StarNaN is up 1 Colossus. However, he doesn't have any of that meat shield, is going to have to be relying on his probes. However, there's no probes left alive in Deskana's base, so he could sacrifice every single one he's got here. He's got 2 Nexus. He'll be able to re-macro very, very quickly. It looks like 2 Zealots and a Stalker have been warped in on the north side and are chasing down that Colossus. Deskana has to tap out 10 supply to 48. StarNaN, wow. Not only what a hold, what a clever play. Sacrificing 300 minerals plus the 50, I guess, for the probe in order to crush an entire mineral line. Poor Deskana in such a pitched battle that all he could do was box over his probes and press A just to see if he could take down these Zealots, but then they were engaging in this nice choke, I think, right here, making so that there was no surround. And look at how much damage they took, 50-8. If they could have gotten a surround, those Zealots would have only have killed maybe half, and maybe Deskana could have warped in another round of Stalkers back here, maybe could have done something. These Colossus really served StarNaN well, and that's Defender's advantage. He was producing another Colossus just to get in on the mix, and with that extra production of the Colossus, with the extra warp-ins and how they were already in his base, StarNaN came out on top. Deskana, very, very well timed. The timing was absolutely phenomenal, and you saw the massive advantage that Deskana had because of that timing, because of that artillery. I think you might have been able to use it a little bit more, but then you run the risk of getting your Colossus sniped, especially with those 2 Immortals out on the scene right now. I don't know what the proper call is. I think maybe pulling the probes rather than letting them all die to the Zealots would have been a little bit better, because then his single Colossus would have had a bit more of a meat shield, would have been able to deal with the Zealots maybe if they had arrived on time. I don't know what the right decision is. If you guys do, you should be a pro player, and you should also tell me, because that would be wicked nice of you. One way or another, if you guys have a replay you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.